There is a cruel paradox in the search for peace. The more you try to find it, the more it escapes. Your effort creates exactly the tension you're trying to dissolve. And probably at this very moment while listening to this, a part of you is already trying to apply this information to calm yourself down. Do you see what's happened? The cycle has already begun. We are living in an era obsessed with tranquility. Meditation, mindfulness, deep breathing, positive affirmations. The wellness industry offers solutions for every moment of discomfort. And I'm not saying these practices are bad, but there is something profoundly contradictory happening here that no one seems to want to discuss. There is a silent violence in forcing your mind to stay calm. Have you ever stopped to notice? That moment when you sit down to meditate, determined to find peace, and your body becomes rigid. Your thoughts accelerate, your chest tightens. That nagging sense that something is wrong because you can't accomplish something that's supposed to be so simple. Most people in this situation think, I'm doing it wrong. I have to try harder. I need more discipline. But what if the problem was exactly the opposite? You're lying down at night wanting to sleep. You have a big day tomorrow, and you really need to rest. So you start counting breaths. 1, 2, 3. You visualize that beautiful place. You repeat, I'm calm. I am relaxed. But inside you, there is a growing urgency, a pressure that tightens, because you know you need to sleep. And this knowledge creates exactly the opposite of what you want. Your heart accelerates. Your muscles contract. It's like trying to relax a clenched fist by clenching it harder. This is the first layer of the problem. Now there is something deeper happening. There is a truth that psychology has long understood, but that the wellness industry prefers to ignore. Your mind cannot observe itself directly. It's like an eye trying to see itself without a mirror. It's a fundamental impossibility. The moment you become aware of an emotion, you distance yourself from it. You transform it into something external that can be managed or fought against. Think about positive affirmations. I am confident. I am lovable. I deserve success. You repeat these words, hoping they will change something in you. But there is a strange disconnect here. If you really believed that, why would you need to affirm it? And if you don't believe it, then you're basically trying to deceive yourself. And some deep part of you knows that. So you become divided, trying to convince yourself of something you know you don't completely believe. That doesn't bring peace. It brings an exhausting internal conflict. Or take breathing techniques. There is an idea rooted in culture that if you breathe in a certain way, slowly, deeply, rhythmically, you will control your emotions. There are apps for this, instructions, protocols. The promise is simple. Follow this pattern and you'll feel better. But what is really happening? You are telling your body your natural reactions are wrong. You need to do this differently. And your body feels that as a threat. Because at its core, control is the opposite of trust. When you try to control your breath, you are communicating fear. Fear that your natural reactions are not good enough. This is the trap that most people don't see. We are culturally conditioned to believe that anything of value requires effort, discipline, willpower, determination. So when it comes to finding peace, something that is supposedly inherently relaxing, we apply the same logic. We work at it, we strive, we push ourselves. But peace is not something you conquer the same way you conquer a promotion or a marathon finish line. Peace is the opposite of conquest. Peace is what remains when you stop fighting. And yet, we see the wellness industry, worth billions of dollars, built entirely around this illusion. Meditation retreats, mindfulness courses, breathing apps, books with titles that promise the secrets to eternal tranquility or how to master calm. Master calm. Do you see the contradiction in those three words? Mastery implies control, effort, struggle, and you cannot master something that is the opposite of mastery. The truth that no one wants to hear is this. You are trying to solve a problem with the same attitude that created it. You are using the same mind that is anxious to fix the anxiety. You are using the same mind that is too busy to find peace. You are using force, ambition, and determination to discover the opposite of force, ambition, and determination. There are people who meditate for 20, 30 years. They attend retreats. They deepen their practices. And yet there is a certain hardness in them, a rigidity, because they spent 2 decades telling themselves that they should be a certain way, that their minds should function a certain way, that their feelings should be tamed. But what if there was nothing to conquer? What if peace is not a destination you need to reach through technology or method? What if it were, in fact, something that is here now, obscured only by your attempt to reach it? This is the question that keeps the door open for something completely different. Something that Eastern cultures understood thousands of years ago, but that the Western mindset of productivity and conquest is only beginning to suspect. There was someone who understood this paradox deeply, someone who spent their life not teaching techniques to achieve peace, but pointing to why you'll never find it while you keep searching. Someone who saw through the illusions we accept as truth and offered us something radically different. And that's exactly where everything becomes interesting. There was someone who understood this contradiction profoundly decades ago. Someone who dedicated his entire life to exploring this very cruel paradox. His name was Alan Watts. Watts was a British-born philosopher who arrived in 1915 and became one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century. During the 1950s through the 1970s, while the West was still completely asleep to Eastern philosophy, Watts was already translating, interpreting, and popularizing these teachings masterfully. He wasn't just a distant intellectual. Watts actually lived these ideas, immersed himself in them, and spent his entire life explaining to the world why our attempts to fix ourselves are fundamentally flawed. And here lies the core of what Watts left us as his legacy, a philosophical framework that completely destroys the illusion that we can improve ourselves through desperate effort. Watts called this the problem of seeking. It's simple but profound. Our problems don't come from who we are. They come from our obsession with trying to correct who we are. All that energy you spend trying to fix yourself, trying to find calm, trying to be better, creates a constant sense of inadequacy. It's as if there's a division within you, a part that is wrong, and another part trying to fix the first. But that part trying to fix is also wrong, and the part trying to fix that is also wrong. It's an infinite mirror of self-criticism. Watts used an extraordinary metaphor. The eye cannot see itself. The mind cannot grasp itself. This isn't a failure of the eye or the mind, it's their nature. The observer cannot observe the observer. Why do you insist on trying to be something you already are by nature? Why should the calm you're seeking be somewhere distant when you're already here? But here comes the cruelest part of this dynamic. Forcing calm is precisely what prevents calm. Watts had a crystalline understanding of how this works. When you force calmness, 3 things happen simultaneously. First, you create an inner division. There's the you that wants to be calm, and the you being controlled to stay calm. Suddenly there's a controller and someone being controlled. That very duality is anything but calm. It's conflict. It's internal war. It's exactly the opposite of what you were seeking. Second, that conscious attempt amplifies the very thing you want to eliminate. When you force your attention toward calmness, you're inevitably focusing on the lack of calmness. You're practicing the lack of calmness. It's like trying to smooth water by hitting it with your hands. Every movement you make disturbs it more. The more you strike, the more ripples you create. The violence of your attempt generates more chaos, not less. And third, that mental effort creates resistance. Resistance is tension. Tension is exactly the opposite of relaxation. You're literally manufacturing the emotional state you're trying to destroy. Your body responds to effort with contraction. Your nervous system responds to struggle with heightened alertness. You've entered an impossible cycle. The harder you try, the further away you are. But Watts didn't stop there. He knew there was an even deeper layer to this illusion. This was where he entered what he called the non-dual perspective. Watts challenged the very separation you assume exists between you and your experience. You believe there's you on one side and calmness on the other, and that you need to capture that calmness and bring it to you. But what if that separation is a complete illusion? What if there was really nothing to capture? Think about it this way. You're not finding calmness. You are calmness itself, trying to find itself. That which is seeking is that which is being sought. The observer and that which is being observed are the same thing. There is no distance between you and what you desire. The distance exists only in that act of mental separation, in that concept you created. The illusion of the separate self lies at the heart of all this suffering. You're not a small creature isolated inside your head, trying to fix yourself before you deserve peace. You are the totality. You are the entire experience. When Watts entered this territory, he was attacking not just our approach to calmness, he was attacking the entire premise by which we live. So here we are. Watts shows us that the search for calmness through effort is fundamentally self-destructive. He reveals that the separation between me and my problem is an illusion. We understand that observer and observed are one, and we're left with a burning question. If the attempt doesn't work, if force makes everything worse, if even the separation between observer and observed is fiction, then what the hell do we do? This is where Watts's answer becomes truly uncomfortable, because it's not an answer the wellness system wants you to hear. And this cruel truth is not one that will sell self-help books or meditation retreat enrollments. Here then is the uncomfortable truth that Watts discovered after decades of studying the mind. You cannot force calm. You simply cannot. And do you know why? Because the very effort to achieve it is what prevents it. This seems absurd, especially to those of us taught that effort equals worth, that the harder we try, the more deserving we become. But that very thought is what traps us. Calm is not something to be conquered through willpower. It is something that emerges when you stop trying to achieve it, when you cease resisting. Do you understand the difference? The problem is not the absence of peace. The issue is all this struggling against what you feel in this moment. It is the resistance to the present moment that creates the torment. And this resistance can seem necessary. It feels like you need to do something, attack the problem, solve it. It seems like surrender is the same as giving up. But Watts offers us a truly disturbing answer. You may be closer to peace when you finally accept that it will not come through your attempts. Understand this clearly. Acceptance is not passive resignation. It's not tossing aside your goals and lying in bed waiting for life to pass you by. Acceptance, as Watts understands it, is something far more active and paradoxical. It is creating space for what is. It is allowing things to be as they are, while continuing to live, act, and grow. Think of the ocean. The ocean does not try to be calm. It makes no effort to remain tranquil. When a storm arrives, it does not resist. It allows the storm to exist, allows the waves to rise and fall, and gradually, naturally, calm returns. Not because the ocean conquered the storm, but because it never really fought against it. It simply let it be. This is what it looks like when you stop forcing. First, there is a shift in your relationship with your breath. You stop trying to control each breath and begin observing how it naturally flows. Then you stop demanding silence. You allow the sounds to be there, the traffic outside, people talking, even your own thoughts, and you realize they don't need to be eliminated for peace to exist. And then, more radically still, you stop fighting your thoughts. You let them arise, move through your mind, and dissolve on their own, like clouds drifting across the sky. You discover that thoughts have their own rhythm. They don't need to be controlled, only observed. But here is the paradox that makes this so difficult. How do you practice non-doing? How do you train surrender? It seems so contradictory that many people simply give up before they begin. Watts recognized this contradiction. He knew it was nearly impossible to achieve peace through technical perfection. So he offered something different. He suggested starting simply with awareness. Becoming aware of when you are forcing, when your muscles are tense, when your mind is at war with itself. The question he proposes is deceptively simple yet profoundly powerful. What if you stopped trying to fix this moment? Just for now. What if you let everything be as it is? Not because you're abandoning all future change, but because you recognize that genuine change never comes from desperate struggle. It comes from relaxation. Like a tightrope walker, the more rigid they become, the more they lose their balance. Calm, grace. Equilibrium come when they relax into the wire, when they trust the wire, when they stop resisting the moment and begin to dance with it. This is what makes this truth so disturbing. It tells us that perhaps we have been wrong all along, that all the anxiety we feel, all that guilt about not doing enough to improve, all that urgency to fix ourselves, all of this is precisely what pulls us away from the peace we seek. And when you truly understand this, something in you shifts, because it means you are not broken. Nothing is missing in you. It simply means your approach was mistaken. That peace is not something distant you must reach through a perfect plan. It is already here. It is already in you, only obscured by the noise of your endless search for it. Watts spent decades exploring this reality. He studied with masters who had known this secret for centuries. And what he found was simple but revolutionary. When you stop trying to be calm, calm naturally emerges. When you stop fighting your nature, you discover what your nature truly is. And your true nature, when not violated by constant effort, is fundamentally peaceful. This is why this teaching remains so rare. It cannot be sold as a quick fix. No one profits from you discovering that you need nothing else. No wellness industry can commercialize the simplicity of simply allowing. That is why it remains a secret, whispered only among those who seek truth beyond technique. And so we arrive at the heart of that cruel truth. The peace you desperately seek will come when you finally stop seeking. Your greatest achievement will be to stop trying so hard. Your greatest gain will be surrender. And it may feel like you are losing everything when, in fact, you are simply finding what was already there. So let me ask you a question that might shift something within you. What if the calm you're seeking is already here? Not in some distant place you need to conquer, but precisely here, beneath all this struggle and noise. What if the only thing preventing you from recognizing it is your own search for it? Perhaps silence was never truly absent. Perhaps it was merely obscured by the constant effort of your search. This understanding opens doors for even deeper exploration. Alan Watts' work on surrender, non-duality, the art of letting go, they all illuminate this same liberating truth. For those who seek truth instead of technique, who seek understanding instead of formulas, this is a journey that truly matters. If this resonated with you, if something in these words has awakened that silent space within you, there is much more to explore here. There is much more about the paradoxes in which we live, about the contradictions that shape us, about the beauty hidden in the places where we stop struggling. Until then, let me offer you a simple invitation. Stop trying. Just be.